Welcome back, guys. It's another edition of Island Fantasy Views powered by the Black Swan podcast. That's ThaBlackSwaan. Don't forget your double A's. You can see my face again. I know a lot of y'all out there, all three of our viewers, you missed that. You wasn't able to get any video last week because of the COVID regulations in the Bahamas. We're having another bit of an outbreak, so we just want to remind everybody to stay safe, social distance, sanitize your hands, and please take this virus seriously. It's already affecting everything we can do in this world, so don't let it be a joke to you. NFL Week 8 action. There was a few injuries out there, a lot of big names. Jimmy Garoppolo, he came back for the 49ers and he was not able to finish the game. Nick Mullins had to come in, and it's feared that he has a high ankle sprain and is probably going to be out for 6 weeks. I'm going to check with our doctor. We checked with our medical consultant, and he said 3 to 6 weeks for the high ankle sprain for Jimmy Garoppolo. So he may be able to come back this season, but unfortunately, George Kittle, superstar tight end, he is definitely going to miss the rest of the season. He has a fracture in his foot that's going to be at least 8 weeks to heal, so they don't know that they're going to be bringing him back. Shout out to the 49ers. They were having a good season, but let's hope they can get over those injuries. Speaking of the 49ers, they weren't able to pull it out against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. They definitely are continuing the tear this year that they're on. Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf had a stupid, outrageous, crazy game after that big highlight rundown play last week. Everybody saw the wheels he had on him, and he came out the gate flying this week. He finished as the top receiver of the week with 2 touchdowns and over 130 yards. Russell Wilson didn't do so bad himself. For all you Chris Carson owners, he didn't play this week, and who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the season. But the Seahawks run game wasn't quite what it was without him. Andy Dalton, he has been placed on the COVID reserve list for the Cowboys, so who knows what's really going on with his injuries. But being placed on that list, there seems to be some contact he's had with a COVID-related person or player. Well, obviously a person if they playing or on the team or personnel, who knows what it is. But they were not in a position to do anything against the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys didn't even really get a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott was held in check, and Carson Wentz, he just did enough to win the Eagles the game. But the Cowboys are definitely in a quarterback search right now because DiNucci is not the answer. And hopefully they can get Andy Dalton back soon. I know they really planned on him being able to take the reins if anything happened to Dak, and it did. But now it seems that they don't have an answer beyond Dalton, so we'll see what happens with them. The Panthers and the Falcons. Teddy Bridgewater got a nasty hit in that game, and it seemed to really shake him up, but he was able to walk over to the tent under his own power and get back into the game after only missing a series or 2. But the player who got him did get ejected for the Falcons, and you can see it up behind us. It wasn't a good play. It was a pretty dirty play, and there's really no room for that in the NFL, and he got ejected after hitting Teddy Bridgewater. But even though he was able to come back, the Panthers could not overcome Matt Ryan and the Falcons. They seemed to do what they needed to do this week, and they were able to pull out a win. I don't know if you guys are still having faith in Matt Ryan. My fantasy seasons are pretty over, so I don't really care what I do at this point, but he seems to be up and down some points, and honestly, if Julio Jones isn't going off, I don't really see Matt Ryan doing anything much for you. The Chiefs and the Jets. The Jets, 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 you suck.
You suck, you jackass.
Sam Darnold couldn't even throw a touchdown. They couldn't even score a touchdown as an offensive team. And the Chiefs, they just ran all over the Jets. The usual suspect, Patrick Mahomes, did what he had to do. Tyreek Hill, he had a couple touchdowns on the day. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he still looks good. Le'Veon Bell even got a couple touches, and they are looking Super Bowl primed. I think they're going to pull it out with another run. They might have some problems in the AFC Championship with the Ravens or the Steelers. Either one of them. The Steelers are still the undefeated team in the NFL. I think it's only them, and they beat the Ravens last week. And it was a pretty good matchup, a pretty good division matchup. I think it was one of the best games of the week. The Steelers and the Ravens. The Steelers are still undefeated in the league. They had a pretty good matchup against the Ravens. I think it's either going to be one of those teams coming up against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So, keep a lookout for those. The Packers and the Vikings. I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes he's hot, most times he's hot, but sometimes he's not, and they couldn't pull it out against one of my favorite players. I said it last week, Dalvin Cook. He is just a monster. He had over 200 all-purpose yards, over 100 yards rushing, and a couple of touchdowns. I think he had all of the touchdowns for the Vikings. So he's pretty much the bulk of their offense now. And if you could come out on the other side against Aaron Rodgers with a win, you're definitely doing something right. Davante Adams, he had 3 touchdowns, and it just wasn't enough against the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are going to be back. Hopefully Robert Tunning can get a bit more in the mix as well. I know I've been recommending him, but it seems like the connection between him and Rodgers is really taking off. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll see what Rodgers does next week. Another loss for Bill Belichick, Cam Newton, and the Patriots. They just didn't have it this week against the Bills, who are now leading the division. The Patriots are not in a familiar place, and I think they really need to reevaluate some things because it's just been too much losing and too much miscommunication between Cam and what's going on with the receivers, with the offensive line. It's just kind of a mess, and honestly I thought Bill Belichick would have had more of a handle on it, but the Patriots seem like a lost organization right now. The Browns and the Raiders, once again, Baker Mayfield, he wasn't dangerous this week, couldn't even score a touchdown against the Raiders, who I thought would have had a bit more offensive power to their game, but hey, a win is a win in John Gruden's book especially. I'm going to keep saying it, the man knows what he's doing with football. My apologies to him. The Raiders are definitely on track to do some things. I don't know if they're going to make it in the AFC Championship game, but they're making some noise. The Dolphins, they were able to pull out the surprise victory against the Rams this week. Everybody was waiting to see what Tua Tagovailoa was going to do. He didn't do anything much on the field, but the Dolphins' defense and special teams, if you started them this week, they were the highest scoring. They definitely did what they had to do. They scored a couple touchdowns, a punt, return touchdown. So it was looking pretty good. At the end of the day, Tagovailoa didn't really need to do anything but manage the game, and the Dolphins came out with a win. So shout out to them and their fans. I didn't really expect anything much, but it looks like the Dolphins.
Shout out to Dolphins fans out there. Shout out to Miami Super fans. This season may be the season. For what? Get more wins than every other year.
Maybe have something to cheer about this year. One of the biggest incidents of the week, the Bears and the Saints. Bears wide receiver Javon Wims pretty much lost his mind. I don't know if it was some CTE. He says he was spit on. The Saints defensive back, Gardner Johnson. Crazy stuff. Kicking off week 9 NFL action, the Packers and the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers is hopefully going to have a chance to do something and come back with a win against probably Nick Mullins. Like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle are out for the 49ers. So hopefully we'll see a good game, but I think Rodgers may have something to say about what he did on Sunday on the field, and it wasn't good. The Giants and the Washington football team. And can I just say, one of the craziest things for me in 2020 has been the Washington football team trying to be less racist and removing the racist name from the team title. But the Washington football team coming up against the Giants this week is a pretty sad division. The NFC least we deserve it. It's a bunch of sorry teams this year, but hopefully we can see something happen between the two of them. I am a big Dwayne Haskins fan. I wish he was still out there on the field. I don't think Washington gave him a fair chance. And honestly, I thought they were going to be progressive, dropping the racist name, but I don't know why they refused to give their black quarterbacks the room to grow. But, we'll see if they come up with a win against Danny Dimes and the Giants. The Bills and the Seahawks, both teams coming off pretty strong wins last week. I'm excited to see what Zach Moss is going to do again this week. He had a pretty nice week for the Bills last week. And the Seahawks, we don't even need to talk about it. Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Hopefully we can see a bit of a progress with Chris Carson, but it doesn't look like the Seahawks are really missing a beat without him. They are going to be matching up on Sunday, 1 o'clock. I think that's going to be a great game for us to check out, so keep your eyes tuned for that one. The Titans and the Bears, but the Bears and the Titans, always a pleasure to see Derrick Henry does what he has to do. Ryan Tannehill and Corey Davis, they look like they're on another level with the connection, so hopefully we can see something happen with the Titans, Derrick Henry and their usual suspects against the Bears this week. I'm going to be watching that one as well on Sunday at 1. That's the Titans and the Bears. The Chargers and the Raiders, I'm going to be watching this one Sunday at 4 o'clock. Justin Herbert, he looks like he's the real deal. I still don't like how the situation played out with my boy Tyrod Taylor, but the Chargers look like they have found their franchise quarterback. It still's not really translating to wins. The Chargers are 2-5 when they come up against the Raiders in a nice division matchup. So I'm going to be watching out for that one. Derek Carr, John Gruden, like I say, hats off to him. He knows his football. Sunday night football, the Buccaneers and the Saints. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, they just keep rolling. The Buccaneers look like they definitely have it together. Ronald Jones the second, Rojo, he's still having a little bit of a difficulty getting ahead of his competition in the backfield. Leonard Fournette, but it doesn't really matter. Tom Brady, he's doing what he got to do. Doesn't need Chris Godwin, doesn't need Mike Evans. He's got Gronk back in field. So they have definitely been. Breeze really needs him, so we'll see what happens. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football, Jets and the Patriots, 2 losers going out for the bottom of their division. I think this is a good week for Cam Newton to get back on track, because honestly, if you can't beat the Jets, then you have a lot more bigger problems, and the Patriots just might want to blow it up. We got a lot of big Cam Newton believers out there, so hopefully we'll see what happens against the Jets. Braxton Berrios, I know Sam Darnold isn't doing much, and the Jets have a lot of wide receiver injuries, but if he's out there, he's definitely making some noise, so you might want to pick him up. I don't know if we're going to see Jamison Crowder this week for the Jets, but if he's not there, Berrios is the guy who you might want to pay a little bit of attention to, because he's out there doing some things with Sam Darnold, even though the rest of the Jets pretty much look like they've cashed it in. That's it for us this week, guys. It's Island Fantasy Views powered by the Black Swan Podcast. That's ThaBlackSwaan. We appreciate you. Don't forget to stay safe, practice social distance, sanitize your hands, wear your mask, do all that stuff. And please take coronavirus seriously. But until next week, peace.